We'd like to thank our sponsors, Ocean Stone Architectural Lighting. Fully customizable track lighting systems for your home, all controlled by an app on your phone. From individual lights to full color spectrum of lights, it's easy to use. You can set timers for special events or seasonal lighting, and what I find really cool are the preset patterns and animation. To get a free quote for your home, go to oceanstonelighting.com.
Welcome to the Quick Tap Rugby Outliers podcast.
I'm Nate Augspurger.
I'm CJ.
I'm Chef Rock.
The podcast that brings you an elite perspective into MLR rugby.
Welcome to another episode of Quick Tap Rugby Outliers podcast. I'm your host, CJ. We are in another episode of practicing social distancing in this era of COVID-19 and quarantine, where the country's loosening up a little bit. Everything's getting back to normal. But we want to get into one little small thing that, not a small thing, turned out to be a huge thing, is the assassination of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Minneapolis, Minnesota happens to be the hometown of one of our hosts. I will just say Nate Augspurger. I won't get into the introductions of Nate today. I want Nate to kind of give us his feelings about his hometown and what happened in his hometown. It is not just a unfortunate incident. It's a travesty. But maybe just one incident actually will change the world, and change our country. So Nate, Nate, you're up, baby. You're up.
Hey, thanks, CJ. Yeah, I was fortunate enough that I was able to fly back home and just take in everything that's gone on, from the peaceful protesting to the rioting and looting, and to see what happened in South Minneapolis, where I grew up. I'd bike around that area a lot, and definitely tied to that neighborhood and to those people in Minneapolis. So being able to go there and experience it was a part of my duty. Not just being from there, but as a white guy, as someone who needs to, realize that I can make a change in this whole thing. And I just trust my faith and my belief in God, and that kind of led me to it. So I was able to get there, and I'll just share this with you, that as an athlete, I've been fortunate to be in so many inclusive environments where, race doesn't sit at the forefront. It's underlying, it's under the surface, but it's not at the forefront. And in sports, often it's the camaraderie, it's brotherhood, it's companionship, and all these things, they kind of trump over it. And so I've always been extremely fortunate. Not only that, but, a lot of people when they first meet me might not be able to tell that I'm white. So I get a lot of, I get a lot of uncertainty. So people are, are you Hispanic? I'm sure if I grow my beard out long enough, I could look Arabian. But the whole point is that throughout this process, I have to learn. My message would be, I don't think anybody should feel discouraged or disqualify themselves from being able to learn, from starting to understand some of our blind spots, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, whatever it may be, being able to understand our blind spots, start looking into other people's experiences, and learn to be a better listener and a better understander of what other people's shoes, what they're doing in their shoes. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot of reflecting. It's been a lot of time in a journal, and I just keep trying to have conversations, man. So that's been about it. And pray for George Floyd, and Black Lives Matter. And the country's going in the right direction here with the peaceful protests and things. So it's pretty amazing to see.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to go back and pay your respects for Mr. Floyd and his family, and I know it was your hometown. Just going back, paying your respects. It meant something to me as an African-American male, African-American man. I said, and then we talked that morning after, I think it was 2 days after, you and I talked early in the morning on the phone about it. And just for you to listen to what I had to say and what my thoughts are and how I felt about it, man, meant a great deal to me. So, again, thank you for as for the podcast and for the podcast family. I thank you for going back and paying your respects and doing your due diligence and now stepping forward in it. So as we step away from this unfortunate incident, we're going to introduce our next co-host. Is Chef Rock. He has a TV show, 1-800-CHEF. What's it called? 1-800-CHEFs.
1-800-CHEF Show. We're live on Instagram.
Right.
Starting tomorrow at 4:30 will be our ninth show.
And it's a fundraiser,
We're raising money for the Rhode Island Hospitality. Yeah, for the Rhode Island Hospitality Relief Fund. So
right.
It's a great cause, and I went to school in Rhode Island, so it's a little close to my heart.
So that leads me into this. When we started this, we did a fundraiser for the San Diego Food Bank in conjunction with the San Diego Legions and rugby team that Nate is a star for. We actually set a goal of $5,000. We actually raised over $5,000. We met our goal. And I want to thank all the Quick Tap Rugby Outlier podcast listeners. Thank you very much. Give yourself a high five. Give yourself
Thank you, guys.
Because we did a great job. And we're going to continue to find a way to raise money for the unfortunate and the needy in San Diego and do what we can as a group of people who really care about San Diego. So we want to make sure that we acknowledge that the fans of the podcast did their job. We asked them to go out and donate. They donated. We raised over $5,000. And, we actually could have raised even more money. We set a time limit. So again, we're going to try something else really soon. We're going to do some really cool things. And we look forward to that. So as we get the show on the road, Chef, thank you for joining. Thank you, Nate, for joining me. I know it's been hard times for all of us. Nate, you have a great guest right now. You want to introduce?
I do. I have a great guest. Naya Tapper is going to be joining us today. She debuted in 2016 for the USA Women's team, and she was a part of the Rugby World Cup, the most recent one that was hosted in San Francisco. And she's got a pretty interesting story because she was a track and field athlete before she crossed over to rugby. So without further ado, we'll bring Naya on, and we're going to pick her brain about her unique story and how it's been so far. So she's a pretty amazing person. I've been lucky enough to know her as a player, and we're going to get to know her more in depth here. What's up, Naya?
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Naya.
Thanks for
Naya's got
having
a
me.
contagious smile. She's got a contagious smile.
We had some interesting when people come on the show, they do something funny, but you put your finger out in front of us, so that was a new
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
It was. Hey, thank God it was the right finger.
Exactly.
For sure.
Hey, so Naya, I just want to dive straight into it. All right, so I kind of highlighted you're from South Carolina originally. You went to North Carolina for college, and you ran track there.
Yeah, so I was born in South Carolina, but I claim that I'm from North Carolina just because I lived there for most of my life. And I went to UNC Chapel Hill and started playing rugby at the club team there.
Nice. Can you walk us through a little bit of, so what year did you start playing out of, junior year, senior year? When did you start playing rugby at Chapel Hill, UNC?
So I started playing my first year. I went into college with the mentality that I kind of just wanted to enjoy college and not really worry about sports because I had been running track since 7th grade and I got pretty successful at it. So even though it was fun, it did become like a kind of part-time job at a young age. So when I was going into college, I just kind of wanted to be free and not have any set schedules and just work out on my own with my free time. But that didn't last very long because I think 2 months into my freshman year, I found the club rugby team that they had there. And so it kind of started from there.
That's great. I can just already imagine it because I was on the club rugby team at the University of Minnesota, and I'd literally be in the rec center doing workouts with my brother, and we'd see some strong dude walk in, and we'd be like, yo, we should ask him what he does and see if he wants to play rugby. It's kind of like
always recruiting.
Hey, I'll tell you, Naya, if you walked into a gym with your stature, man, and your athleticism, I mean, I would have been like, yo, we need to ask her what she's up to, man. What's she doing in the rec center and not at the varsity sports, getting down there. So, all right. So then you started in college and then you graduated. What happened next?
So when I started in college, 3 months into me learning the sport, playing the sport, I was asked to come out to a camp during Thanksgiving. And that was already kind of a red flag for me of I'm leaving my family to go try out for a sport that I really didn't know anything about. But my mom thought it'd be a good idea, so I did it. And I had a really good time there. I think one of the main aspects that they were looking at from me was just my speed. Um, Back then, it was a lot easier to get brought out to a camp based on small skills that you may have had. So for me, it was my speed, and that around that they would build a rugby player. So I went out there for that, and they gave me the opportunity to come out there full time, but that wasn't something that I was ready to tackle with just leaving a sport that I had been doing for a very long time. I wanted to get my degree before I did anything in the professional athlete realm. So
Smart.
I'm really happy I did that now. It's probably one of the best decisions I've made. But
Ditto.
yeah, I turned that down, finished my 4 years of college, and for my last semester, I was brought out to another camp under a different coach, Jules, and she offered me a contract. And since I only had one more semester left, I agreed and came out to California, January 2016. And while being a full resident, I was finishing my last semester of college online and went to graduate. From there, it was kind of a long journey to get to where I'm at right now in terms of adversity and things like that. For the most part, sports for me was something that was very easy. It came natural, and I never really had any hard times with it. Never really was challenged. So when I got to California and the full residency, I learned really fast that speed wasn't enough to be accepted by my teammates and by the staff, which I didn't understand then, but over time, it makes sense. You want somebody who is going to benefit you on the field. And with sevens, like you kind of have to be an all around player because you don't know where you will get stuck at on the field.
Yeah. Well, and time and time again, we get, you get new players into the setup, and, something as small as not being able to throw that nice 15-meter pass or 10-meter pass can be just like glaring in the game of sevens. So super detrimental. Yeah. So I'd imagine that the hard work and the stuff that you would have had to, to raise your standard to be surviving there, but not only surviving, I mean, you've been a killer really since you started playing with the women's sevens, very well known. Second in leading tries, was it last year or leading try scorer over the whole series? What year was that?
So I think last year in Sydney, I became the all-time try scorer. And then since then, me and Alev have been going back and forth. So I got to work really hard to get that back. But if anybody else would have it, I'd want it to be her.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Naya, do you miss track and field? I mean, someone who ran track and field your life and your whole life, and as a career, you can make a career out of track and field as well. Do you miss that?
I think the thing that I miss the most is just how expressive you can be as an athlete in terms of what you wear, how you celebrate your wins and things like that. I think for rugby, with the uniformed clothing that you have to wear, like you can't really show your personality through that. You can't wear, you can't have nails, you can't wear jewelry, like you can't show
the shirt you wear with your face on it.
Yeah, you can't. So it's like in track and field, you can really wear whatever you want, and it shows who you are as a person. So with rugby, you have to do a lot of that off the field. I think that's probably one of the things that I miss the most. Yeah.
Well, what about Project Runway? Let's talk about Project Runway.
Oh
yeah.
I was watching TV, and all of a sudden Naya was on my TV. My wife was watching Project Runway. All of a sudden Naya was on the TV.
Nice.
That was an experience. Yeah. I'm still surprised that I was able to do that. For me, that was kind of like the chance to spread awareness and positivity positivity about women in rugby. I think even still to this day, there's a lot of people who don't accept that women play a contact sport, that women play rugby with the same rules as the men. So going on that show, one of the things that was really important to me was to express how even though a female plays a rough sport, they still have that female aspect of them. They still have that femininity, even if it's portrayed as being strong, tall, muscular, it's still feminine. And it's beautiful. And I think that show allowed me to do that, to where I got to walk the runway and wear a cute outfit and like talk about my sport at the same time. So it was great for myself and great for the sport.
That's great, because I only did that runway once, and that was enough for me.
You did a runway?
Yeah, sure.
On the catwalk.
Are you on the runway?
Yeah, I was on the runway. Hey, Naya, I was going to ask you, being a sports-minded guy, I always wonder, what was it like the first time you took a shot? Like somebody came up and just tackled you to the ground. And unlike track and field, I'm sure that didn't happen too often.
That's a good question, Chef. That's a good question.
Yeah.
What's it like? How were you shocked? Like, the hell happened there? That hurt.
So
Wait a minute.
I luckily can say it took a long time before I really got like the breath knocked out of me. So in San Francisco for the World Cup, we were playing against Australia, and probably the hardest I've been hit was then, and it was by Elia Green. And she's really known for her speed, but playing with her many times, I've learned she is a very strong player. She has no fear when it comes to contact. Being on the wing, it's really hard to make a big tackle because you are so far away from your opponent. But she has no care in the world. She will come flying from 40 meters, whether she gets you or not. But a lot of the time she will get you. And that day she got me.
And did it make you mad? Did it make you get up and say, I want to get you?
I didn't even have time to like even think about it. I was just laying on the ground. I'm like, oh my God, like this hurts so bad, but I have to get up and keep playing. But after that, I think like she tore my wrist up and everything. It was
wow. One big
but
shot.
it's competition.
She hit as hard as Katie Johnson?
I would say she hits hard. I've never been hit by Katie Johnson, so I'm not sure. I've seen the hit, but that girl, she is strong. She's just powerful, and that Fijian reaction comes out of her where she just goes 100% full-fledged and just has no words.
She got like extra 10 pounds in her hair as well.
Yeah, beautiful hair.
She got gorgeous hair, man. So Naya, I wanted to ask a bit more about, so you're in the sevens now, obviously big plan to make the next Olympics, right? You're still in for 2021. How are you going to switch it back on when you guys start getting back together? And I know there's been a fair bit of the girls on the team have been getting their workouts in, getting equipment delivered to their house, making sure that they're staying fit. And I've heard that you're somebody on that team who actually holds people accountable quite a bit, or at least in the team environment. So if you could just express how you guys are going to get just right back on the horse here as one of the best teams in the world, and get together and go win this Olympics. Just explain that to us a little bit.
So I would honestly say like the grind hasn't stopped. As soon as everything went down with the quarantine, the first thing our staff did was make sure we had the tools to be able to stay fit and work out and be ready when we do come together. A lot of us have been on go with our remote program, with running and lifting. I can say for me personally, this extra time has been a blessing for me because there were things that I felt I was lacking leading up to this Olympics. So now this was a chance for me to get on my horse and do what I needed to do, and hold myself accountable. I think that's one thing I struggled with was, yes, I could hold my teammates accountable, but I wasn't always leading by example in terms of fitness and things like that. So that's kind of something that I'm focusing on now, so that when we do come together, that's something that they can look at me and say, if Naya got fitter, like, we should all be getting fitter.
Yeah. Now they're all going to be mad at you.
Yeah.
Naya looks. What the heck?
Yeah, like
Too
Naya's
many
kicking our
Netflix
butts.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of humility, though, for you to say that, Naya. That's impressive. It really is.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's great.
No, our coach is good with making us know what we need to work on and being aware of that and why it's important versus thinking of it selfishly of, oh, you think I'm not good at this and you think I'm not good at that. Well, if somebody's telling you you need to fix something, it's probably because you do and because they care, and it's for the betterment of other people besides just yourself.
Right. When you get outside of the personal and realize we're all on the same team going for the same goal.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes special things happen, right?
Yeah.
That's an athlete without an attitude or an ego that's willing to listen to change.
Yeah.
Naya, you said earlier that you, on Project One Way, gave you an opportunity to talk about women and women in rugby and express yourself about femininity, all that kind of stuff. We give you an opportunity to do that as well here. We want you to talk about women in rugby. We want to talk about women of color in rugby and how you feel about that. And are you trying to entice more minority women, African American women, Latino women to join rugby, or is it something that, I mean, how do you feel about that? The point I'm trying to say is I want to give you an opportunity to give you the floor, the platform, to say whatever you want to say. Recruit some people, talk about it, talk about your role in rugby and how you feel about your role in rugby.
Yeah. I think me and my teammates and staff, we talked about recently with everything that's going on that our team, out of all the teams around the country, around the nation, is probably one of the most diverse teams when it comes to race. When I first came to the team, there was maybe 2 or 3 Black girls. And in general, overall, there wasn't that many in the sport. So once I set my place on the team, I had a concrete position in the team where I could be a role model for Black girls coming up in sports and looking for a sport because maybe they didn't fit in other sports or it didn't give them the inspiration that they wanted. I think being a Black girl now in the sport, there's so many on our team right now, and there's so many girls coming in for camps that are Black women, and they are so athletic. Our genetics are ridiculous. So you can bring a lot of Black girls out to a rugby camp, and if they're fast learners, they're athletic by nature, and that's something that I've learned about myself, but they're also willing to learn. So I think me leading by example by being a Black female rugby player, being successful at it on the field, but also off the field with volunteering and trying to do coaching and working with other teams around the country and doing camps to where Black girls can see people like me and Chris Thomas and Chetta Emba and Jordan. We have so many great examples of it now to where you see at first Black girls didn't even realize, didn't know what rugby was. And now they know what rugby is because they see people like them playing the sport and then see that they can also be successful in it. And it can open a lot of doors for them because they see it with me and a lot of the other Black girls on the team. So I think it all comes down to leading by example and giving them inspiration and hope that this sport is something that could lead to a lot of great things for them.
No, that's awesome. I saw not too long ago. I didn't even know there was a women's professional football team in America.
Yeah.
And they play professional football, and I was like, what? And I really didn't know. Honestly, I'm a big sports fan. I didn't know that. And there were so many African American women on that squad, and I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So they're looking to play at the next level as sports, you know, with physical contact. So I guess rugby is a good alternative for them to make a living, get on the Olympic team, and do well. So again, kudos to you for being a good role model and stepping up and being a positive. Nate talked highly about having you. He wanted you on the show from early on. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one that said, nah, man, leave her. Nah, I'm just kidding. I didn't say
Stop
that.
Stop
I didn't say that. But no, he talked about how, you know, talk highly of you. So, for me, it feels good to have an African American woman in rugby that's a good role model, set a good example. Now, let me ask you, what's that shirt you got on? I mean,
this is my lovely.
What's up?
This is. Let me see if I can get a little closer.
Naya on fire.
Yeah, this is me.
Nice.
So yeah, I started selling shirts with my image on it, and then my brand name, which is Naya on Fire, which I have been being called since I was younger. I think my mom's best friend made it up because
Nice.
they both love to rhyme. So Naya on Fire, it rhymes. So then eventually,
So
yeah.
Mama's a rapper?
She's not a rapper, but she loves to rhyme. She's from like the hip hop realm. She's from New York. So yeah, she's
We got
all about it.
So I need a 5XL. You got me one? Can I get one
I
of
can
those?
get you one. I can get all of you guys.
Hey, I'll sport it. I'll wear it.
Come on,
I'll
Nate.
wear it. Question. Naya on fire.
That's it. Hey,
Yeah.
I had a question for both Nate and Naya. Do you think because of what San Diego Legion and the new league, the Major League Rugby, has put together, that there will be a female rugby unit that's basically a league underneath, not underneath, but as part of this Major League Rugby, phenomenon? I mean, there hasn't been a Major League Rugby unit. Do you think that's
there hasn't been professional.
Well, why hasn't there been?
There hasn't been professional women's rugby in America, and obviously we just introduced the men's. Naya, I don't know if you would have heard more about that before I turn it to you, though. What I do know is that, and I'd want your opinion on this too, Naya, because I believe you may even know more about this than me, is there is professional female 15s going on in the UK, or being set up in the UK now. So there's a premiership. The professional men's league is the premiership, and now they're doing that, a female league for the premiership. And I guarantee you, if there is one, that she has been asked to be a part of it at some point. So Naya, if you have any insider info, or just want to share with us what you think about the future of professional rugby for women in America or in the Prem, please enlighten us.
Yeah, so I've definitely have had people reach out about professional 15s in the UK and how that would be a great opportunity for me and a lot of the other top sevens players. I'm not sure if any of the 15s girls have heard anything, because there is a 15s program, but it's not professional yet. Hopefully soon that will be changed, because a lot of those girls work just as hard as us, but aren't receiving the same benefits. So hopefully that is something that will change over time. But if I do remember right, I do remember hearing about the opportunity of there being a 15s female MRL style type of thing. I'm not sure where they are at in that process. But just the fact that they're considering it is a great start for us. I think it would be great for female ruggers, because not everybody can play sevens. Not everybody likes sevens. So there's a lot of girls who are playing 15s. I started up through 15, so I think it would be important to get that set up before, even though it's too late because we already have professional sevens. I think it's very important to show respect to the sport, to get the female 15s professional league started up, because that's where everybody started all around the world. So I think that's my stand on it. They should giddy up on that process so that those girls can get the benefits they deserve.
Well, that answers my question.
Yeah. That was really well
That's
said,
really,
now, because
no,
you're right. That is the majority of people who are experiencing rugby, or at least in the local club communities and stuff. It's 15s. That's what they know. But like she said, sevens, the female sevens team is obviously way more popular at this point in time. So
yeah.
Well, I'd love to see you turn it up on a 15s field, Naya. I'm not gonna lie. What position do you think you'd play?
I'd probably be a wing.
Right, just go wing.
Just sitting on the edge, relaxing.
So you
wingman.
With that contact.
Yeah, I mean, contacting 15s is a lot easier, only because you don't have to really track anybody down. They're just right
They're
there.
A lot more in front of you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Take someone's head off.
So you won't get your wind knocked out of you as much in the 15s.
No, 15s. You probably have there will be a lot more chances to get tore up on the field because there's not really anywhere to run. You're gonna run into somebody.
Maybe some lower velocity tackles and stuff compared to sevens. Sevens, everything's done at a high speed.
Yeah,
but
I got to.
Go ahead, Chef.
You got one? No, I was just going to ask something that I saw a story on. In fact, I think I reposted it. And it was on how they're talking in this COVID era of getting rid of the scrum.
Oh.
That's not going to happen.
I know. Yeah. That's why. How could you not have the game? I mean, it's like baseball without a ball.
Yeah.
You could probably wear a mask in rugby. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't really talking like, you know, you could wear a mask in professional football if you wanted to.
If you wanted to put it over the face mask or whatever.
Yeah, you could do. Put it inside, and you could actually wear those rugby helmets and then put like a little face mask.
The scrum cap.
Yeah, dude.
Those scrum caps get ripped off. Those scrum caps get ripped off all the time, CJ. So imagine what a face mask is going to do.
Oh my God, it'll rip your jaw off.
And you can see I'm not a rugby player.
Yeah. Just trying to. I just saw the article.
Never happened.
No, that's good. That's good IQ from you, Chef, to bring up some of that stuff because there's obviously been a lot of talk about that, and World Rugby's been putting out a lot of stuff regarding the new guidelines, and as coaches, as someone who coaches, certifications for how classes are supposed to be led right now, how phases differ from state to state, and all the things that you're gonna gotta go along. But I think like most things in the rugby world, I think people are more just like, can we just get back to normal? Can we just scrum and just tackle? It's like I don't know. I mean, if Rugby New Zealand, they're starting Super Rugby this weekend, they're going to be playing with fans in the stands. Now, mind you, New Zealand is a smaller country or whatever, but they're gonna set a little bit of a standard, which from what it sounds like, it's going to be pretty good, and hopefully a lot of positive stuff comes out of that. Up, right? Yeah, exactly.
Naya, do you watch men's rugby, and if you do, who's your favorite? And don't say Nate.
Besides Nate.
She wouldn't say.
Don't feel obligated to boost.
You know what I mean? If he's truly someone you like, you could use him in the third or fourth person. You know what I'm saying? Don't make him feel good.
Don't make him number one.
Are you saying for 15s or for 7s? Are you saying for Legions?
Well, let's say this. Let's say for 15s, and then on top of that, then your Legion player. So I'm gonna give it to you. You might have to go with Nate. You know what I'm saying? So, do you watch men's rugby at all? That's the first question.
That was a question.
Barely. I barely watch sports in general. I'm more of a sport player, which is something I've been trying to work on changing, just because watching the sport is another form of learning it. But probably for the Legions, I have two. I'd probably say Nate, and then I'd say Ryan Mattias, because that's my best friend.
We had him on the show. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's really good. Both of them are some speedsters.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Nate. I appreciate you saying that on here. Appreciate you calling me a speedster. That's sweet of you.
That's right. You are a speedster.
Well, talk about what, CJ?
No, I was just gonna say, man. I just didn't want to stroke your ego more. It's already big. It's
big.
Woo! You know what I'm saying?
We got to tone it down.
You know what I'm saying?
A double zoom. Okay. He's on a double zoom. He's on two screens in there.
Is the show over yet or what?
Go ahead.
No, but Naya's you're pretty close with Carlin, right? Carlin Isles.
Yeah, that's my best friend.
Yeah, that's her PIC. So I think in the sevens favorite player would have to be Carlin Seafly.
Yeah, for sure. And off the field,
fastest man in all of rugby.
Yeah.
You don't watch any other sports? You don't watch football, basketball, nothing like that?
Nope.
So we can't talk sports with other than rugby?
Playing wise, for sure. I mean, I know like the main superstar athletes, but I don't really have the attention span for it. It doesn't interest me at all. It never did, even growing up.
Really? How about track
Yeah.
and field then?
Same.
Same?
Yeah.
You hear that, everybody? Your kid doesn't have to be obsessed with sport to do great things in sport. All right?
There you go.
That ain't good.
Let's
go.
break
Coming
down
up
some of the
from
narratives here.
Naya on fire.
I
That's great.
Well,
I had a question for Naya and Nate again. I know in like football, growing up playing the sport, and even in the pros, they're obsessed with watching old films on how the players react, and if you're a tight end or if you're a wide receiver or if you're a defensive guy, you want to learn what your opposing guys are going to do by habit. Do you guys do that at all in rugby, or you just go out there and what happens happens?
Go ahead, Naya. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. A lot of film and scouting goes into our process before we go into tournaments. It's very important for us to know what we're going up against and how we're going to go up against that. I think that's one of the most important reasons why a team will win a game, because they know what each player in front of them is going to do. They know what the team as a whole is going to do and how to deflect that, and also how to destroy them in that aspect. And you want to treat your enemy as your best friend, as they say, and watching
Keep
film
them
on
close.
them is
Respect
the best
them.
way. Yeah.
Yeah,
That definitely works. Okay.
Yeah, Chef, I'd say, for when I was with the Sevens, I wish I would have done more of watching my opponent and like trying to really be able to put myself, even like mental exercise to know like, all right, look for this. But it was in 2011, I was still in college and I was playing in a tournament, and Shalom Sunila is a well-known USA 7s and 15s player, plays for the Seattle Seawolves. And I was younger than him, and we were going up against him in the Sevens Nationals tournament. And I watched him all day. I was like, Shalom's going to left foot step. He's going to left foot step. And I was kind of like G'd up for that. Yeah. Got in the game, boom, left foot step. I had no idea which was my left or right. He beat me, went and scored a try. And I was just like, after that, I was like, you know what? I don't need to sit here and try and predict what other people are going to do. I'm just going to react. So I will go and watch some film and really try and pick up on some tendencies. Right. But I've always been trust your instinct. Yeah, the guys I play defense against every day on my teams, they know how good of a defender I am. So, if I can just get whatever bit of knowledge I have about the other team, similar to what I pick up going against my teammates every day, I know I'll be in a good position to play the right defense, make my tackles, and, have an idea how to beat somebody one-on-one.
That's good. Good answers. Yeah, I figured as much, that you guys have to at least see who you're up against. I mean, we did the same thing in high school football, except for the coach would always fall asleep in the middle of films.
Oh, wow.
And back then, let me tell you how old I am. The projector was reel to reel. So you knew at the end it would go because it just ended.
I'm gonna listen, Chef. I'm gonna have to go back to my glory days then. Every episode we go back to your football playing days, bro. This is about Naya, man. This ain't about you.
No, I was just talking about film.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I'm old. You know I love you. I love you. But
I love you, man. But
I love you like a brother.
We don't want to talk about football when they have what do you call them? Leather
Nayas.
Leather hats.
We got royalty here. Not you, Nate. Naya.
Naya. Listen, Naya. We as we try to close out every show, we like to talk about, we want you to give you an opportunity to say something about what's going on right now, what's going on, like a message you like to convey to the world, our athletes, our people in general, our women, we are in a bad state right now, and we got COVID-19, we got the protests and rioting, we got all this stuff, and we got the economy sinking, we got people hungry, we got a lot of things going on in the world, and we use this. I'm just cracking some jokes on Chef Rock. I've been friends for years, and he knows I love him more than I love anything else. He's been my friend and partner for a very long time. So I just crack jokes and make fun of the lighter stuff. But we would like to leave this opportunity with you. Well, first of all, it's been great to talk to you.
It's a pleasure.
As I was listening, I'm going to say something to you. I'm going to talk for a little bit. I'm going to say something to you. It might embarrass you. Is that I was watching you talk, and I thought I was talking to the girl from on the TV show Secure. You know what I'm talking about?
Ray.
Issa Rae.
She got a smile like her. She's talking like. But I didn't want to say that
next time I see you.
She might want to punch me or something. But anyway, dude, it's been a pleasure to talk to you and to listen to you and see how you feel about the sport.
Real pleasure, Naya.
Thank you for having me.
It's an opportunity for you to say something. See what you can do to say something to you have a listening audience, and we'll put this out there for you to say what can you enlighten us all on.
Yeah. Just as an athlete, we've kind of learned that you have to be careful with what you say, careful with what you post. But I think right now, with what's going on, with the Black Lives Matter movement and the police brutality and things like that, I just ask that people who are seeing this and are aware of it to just be patient and compassionate and understanding with your fellow Black friends, teammates, family members, associates, business partners, things like that, because a lot of us can put a smile on when we need to and can have the right attitude when we need to, but deep down, like, it's affecting us to have to see this consistently on the media. You can't escape it, and we as Black people can't escape it in general. So just be compassionate, be patient, be understanding, because a lot of the ways that we are reacting right now, people don't agree with, but they're also not having to live with the things that caused us to react like this. So just be understanding, reach out to any of your Black family members, friends, teammates, because they are struggling, whether they say it or not. Even if you don't get a response from them, because you may not, still be understanding in that aspect of they need time. They need space to feel the emotions that they are dealing with right now. It's mentally tolling. It's been mentally tolling for a long time now. And I'm just praying that a lot of good things come out of this protest, because a lot of good things already have. And the last thing is that it's just been amazing and heartwarming to see the support that I've been getting from my teammates and my staff, and just to see how much support we're getting from people all over the world. This has been one of the biggest protests in history, so hopefully there's a change from that.
That's awesome. That's awesome, my friend. I am now
a
Fire fan forever. So thank you very much. And
you want that
my
T-shirt.
closing words to you is thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate you, and God bless you. And Chef Rock can say what they want to say.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I know Nate's from Minneapolis, and I spend a lot of time when I was on my tours going through Minneapolis. It's a beautiful city. But what we've seen around the world is totally incredible. I'm obviously a little bit older, maybe a couple of years older than you guys, but I was around for the 67, 68 riots, and I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, so we actually saw it. I didn't know what the problem was then because I was too young, but watching what's happening now is, it's ripping me apart. Just the problems that have happened in the Black community. Finally, thank God for technology. They're getting the light of day. People are seeing what's really going on.
Yeah.
And hopefully that this will be some changes that will be completely changing the way people police, the way people act. And I know for a fact that it will take a long time before everything's fixed. But at least this is finally where people have really come together and made a point that this is not right. It has to stop. Black Lives Matter. And let's move past the prejudice and the racism to get to another place. And that's what I'm praying for. I'm hoping that we can do that and pull that off.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chef.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
So we're lucky we have a little platform here to do this. So that's what I'm happy for.
Very important.
We are. Well, everybody who's listening, just know that you're loved. that you're seeing.
Right.
That we're thinking about you and praying for you. I've been outspoken. I believe God's the answer, but hey, just love yourself so you can love others. Love everybody as if they're your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, whatever. And let's just keep working on ourselves, man.
Awesome. We'll leave it right there. Quick tap out.
Quick tap out.
Quick tap
Thanks,
out.
man. See you guys.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye, Naya.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye.